A couple of weeks ago, I got the chance to attend two of the biggest drone and space conferences in the UK. DroneX 2022 at the Excel Centre in London and Space Comm Expo at the Farnborough International Centre. As an aerospace engineering student, this was an amazing experience for me and a great chance to network, meet professionals in the industry and learn more about my future career. So I decided to vlog it all. This video is a record of that trip from the first day, where me and my friends travelled to London and got some really valuable insights which I'll share throughout the video. So without further ado, here it is. It's now just past 6, I think. Day one of the conference trip that we have planned. To be honest, I thought I'd be feeling a lot more tired right now after the shower and getting ready and everything. A bit more awake and honestly just excited to get started. Either way, I'll have sufficient time to sleep on the coach. 4 hours to London. It's gonna get there around 11:30 and then we'll take a tube to the conference centre and basically see what happens. I've got a few stands I've had a look at from the guide that seemed interesting. I think there's a few live exhibits that they have on, so I'd want to have a look at those. I'm just trying to think of the kinds of things that I'd be looking out for, possible networking opportunities, that kind of thing. And honestly, I think I'm just going into this with quite an open mind, just seeing what it's like, because I think as a student going into these sorts of events, it's not specifically aimed at our demographic, I think, but it can be a really easy way to get into opportunities in the industry that can really boost your career or get you started really quickly out of university on chances that you don't normally get from just going to lectures or just emailing people cold online or LinkedIn messages and things like that. I think it's definitely not my first conference, but it's one of the early ones, I can say that for sure. So I'm excited to see how it goes, excited to see what happens, and yeah, guess it's about time I left.
Safety is our #1 priority. First aid kits and fire extinguishers are fitted on this coach and are clearly marked. Use your handrails at all times and comply with local safety signage. Now please sit back, relax and enjoy your journey with National Express.
After a long walk through the Excel Centre, we finally got to the DroneX exhibit and jumped headfirst into seeing all the stalls on display. One of the first things that we noticed was this really complex sci-fi looking ground control station designed with a Space Odyssey reference, which was pretty cool. And then moving on from that, we got our first look at all the drones that were on display. It was fascinating to see the number of different applications that companies had come up with, like the stall that we looked at, which was displaying an aircraft to carry blood from one place to another in emergency medical situations. I remember we were looking at it for a while just to admire the cargo box mechanism, how it worked with the gear system inside and the size of the payload that it can contain, just nerding out as engineering students who thought about implementing that kind of thing on our own drones before. One thing that we noticed throughout the day was the similarity between what all these different companies had designed amongst themselves and what we as students were essentially prototyping and making our first efforts to design. It was really satisfying to see drones being built professionally that looked so similar to what we were doing, just a lot more refined and well thought out. And it really got me interested in what the transition might look like from just being in a student project like Project Kestrel, which is the one I'm in at university, to actually being in a full-time job at a drone company like one of these. Some of the drones that we saw, which were actually real flyable aircraft, looked insanely futuristic, like this one from Cyclotech, who were developing cyclorotors for 360-degree thrust vectoring, which basically means you can point the motors to fly in any direction. And they were made to give the advantage of being able to fly in confined areas and crowded airspace, which is a problem of the future that will start to come about. There were also a lot of different talks going on within the centre, and people had the opportunity to sit down and listen to some of the professionals about upcoming trends in drone tech and their plans moving forward. More than just showcasing the drones themselves, there were quite a few companies that offered specific solutions for the industry in things like drone testing and measurement. So this one store that we came across had a display for a 360-degree vibrational measurement chamber that properly analysed the frequency of vibrations during flight to try and optimise it. To be completely honest, it looked and sounded so complicated at the time that I'm not even sure exactly how much you can do with it. It just looked really cool. And that, I suppose, is another thing to talk about throughout all of this. It's easy to get overwhelmed seeing all the work that's being done and wondering how you could possibly have enough experience to contribute to a field like this as an engineer that's just starting out. But I've come to learn that just exposing yourself to the field and doing your utmost to learn, it gradually puts you in a position to start chipping in here and there, to the point where you build your confidence and your expertise and you just find your way in. Everybody starts the same way, as a student just hoping to work on cool things like this and taking the time to gain knowledge about them, and so it was just a lesson to take forward while we all explored. This other company that we looked at, called Agilica, was selling a drone identifying system that works for redundancy, so when the GPS fails on the drone and there's no way to know exactly where it is, it works by using these anchor nodes on the walls here, which communicate with each other and relay back the position of the flight controller on the drone. It works similar to a radio tower in a sense. In another exhibit, which was one of the live demonstrations, we got to see a real-time flight using Aruco markers, which are essentially these really simple QR codes that drones can be taught to look for and fly towards to help with landing. And it was amazing to see them just because in our own project in Kestrel, we'd implemented a system with image recognition on the drone in exactly the same way. And so it was really cool to see it actually being put into action from another company that was, professional in the industry. And going even further outside of the drone industry itself, we saw this really cool stall that had a VR setup to show people simulations of rescue operations that were being developed for training. Overall, it was amazing to get an insight into all the developments within the industry and get my first glimpse at all this technology, so things that I might eventually work on in the future. So with all said and done, we packed up and we left for the day.
This is post-Expo. How did you feel about today?
I was very overwhelmed at the start, and then as I got on, it got easier, and there were so many stalls, but I learned a lot.
There was a lot of stalls.
There were an insane amount of stalls, and a lot of drones, but I liked it. Yeah. Good conference.
Balaj, how was today?
Yeah.
Got some networking, some contacts, some flying sites for us to use. Lots of advice for our careers, I think. Very successful day.
Very successful day indeed.
Just curious.
Toby, how did you find it?
I don't know, it's really good. It's lots of carbon fibre.
Lots of carbon
That's the
fibre.
only thing we went for.
Yeah.
Overall, really good. Also, you haven't shown them your business cards yet.
The business cards will come later.
Okay, cool. I will insert the business cards.
Yeah. Look forward to tomorrow's, where we go to the space conference instead. It'll be good, won't it?
It will.
So, as Kian so rightly said, stay tuned for the second day. If you're excited to see the vlog, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. The support really helps and motivates me to keep making videos like this. After another tube back from the centre and a break for food, we eventually all split up and went our own ways, and I took the train back to Farnborough that evening to get to my Airbnb. Okay, so I guess that concludes the events of the day. I've just reached my Airbnb. It was an extremely busy day in London. I for one really enjoyed the conference. I think the rest of the group did as well, but it looked like everyone was pretty knackered after it. We got a lot of good networking opportunities from it. Some really cool drones to see. Not just a few. There were like somewhere between 40 and 50 stores, maybe probably more to be honest. It was a massive event and I definitely didn't expect that. But yeah, I'm just really glad I went to it. It was an extremely busy day and there was a lot of talking to do, a lot of people to ask questions and just learn from, which is one thing that I really took on board, just being able to see like actual drone systems put into action and the similarity they had to the kinds of things that we in our own groups did in student projects, Project Hex and Kestrel, one that myself and a team member were on. And then also just the ability to get talking about those educational trips and the idea of contacting companies to be able to organize some types of visits or like learning opportunities, you know, at separate sites organized by specific industry partners. That kind of thing is really like pushing the abilities of students in a sense, and letting us learn more while we're at uni, and so I'm a massive advocate of that. And a shout out to Kian, our educations officer, for doing all that today. I think by the end he had like 10 business cards and those emails should be going out shortly, but we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, that is basically all that's left for today, so I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. And that wraps up the first day. If you're excited to see what happens on day 2 of the trip, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to keep updated. This is one of my first videos on the channel, so it was exciting to start out with a vlog and just get experience editing and putting things together. My videos in the future will likely be aimed at similar topics, sort of sharing my ideas and my lessons throughout aerospace and general things that I've learned so far. But in any case, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.